Hello and welcome to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital's podcast. I'm here today with Nicola Wood. She's founder of the Wonderful Wig Company and just here today to give us some tips about what to expect after chemotherapy and the hair return, and she's going to give us some tips about sort of looking after our hair, what to expect. So Nicola, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, and thank you. And if you just want to share a little bit of your wisdom and some of the research you've been doing about hair loss and how to try and increase and encourage hair growth.
From working with people with hair loss day in and day out, a lot of women's questions are about, the after bit. It's not the wearing of the wig that concerns them the most. It's like, what's going to happen to my hair after, and when will it grow back, and how long will that take, and when can I have a colour, and things like that. So we are speaking very generally here because everybody's journey is different and everybody's natural biological hair grows very differently. So as a generalization, after your last chemotherapy, within 3 or 4 weeks, we would expect that you would have a solid covering across the scalp, and there would be no areas of bald after 3 or 4 weeks. You would have quite a good covering, so that's not very long to wait. We normally suggest that for colouring the hair, we wait at least 3 months before we do a test on the hair, but up to 6 months. Everybody again is different, so we would need to do various tests to make sure that the hair strength was back before we did any colouring.
Is there any natural colouring that some ladies will often ask about that they can use?
Yeah, so it's very important to use as little chemicals as you can, and that's not just for colouring, that's even down to your shampoos and conditioners. Of course, the world's more bothered about chemicals right now, and it's even more important post-chemo. So we would definitely suggest that you use shampoos and conditioners that do not contain parabens or sulfates. That's really good. When you've got a wig, you can wash your hair with these products, but afterwards it's really good for your own scalp and healthy hair growth not to use those things.
So would you be looking at sort of like your organic shampoos and conditioners like that?
Just something that just says no parabens or sulfates, and that's just the chemical nasties in shampoos and conditioners and hair colours. But they've become a lot more affordable over the last few years because more people are concerned with that. So stay away from parabens and sulfates. Have a skin test and a strand test before you colour your hair, because your hair's depleted of protein after chemotherapy, and protein is the stuff that colour clings to. So without the right protein levels in your hair, you're not going to get the same colour effects that you used to. So it's essential that you have some tests before you colour and see somebody who knows about that. If you were to colour your hair without doing that, then you really should be sticking to a vegetable colour or a henna, something very, very organic and natural to start off with. Definitely no black dyes on the scalp or bleach. They're very two opposites. Nothing too light and nothing too dark. They would be the ones to stick away from because they contain more chemicals.
Is there any sort of like treatments and things like that ladies can maybe put on their hair when they're...
Yeah, so a lot of people just want the hair growth to be very quick, and for that I always say to people, think of your scalp like a plant. So for healthy hair conditions, a plant needs sunlight and water, and the same with your scalp. So as much wig free time as you can, because it's really important to have some sunlight and nourishment. So make sure that you're still shampooing the scalp. Make sure that if your skin and your scalp is dry, a really nice organic oil is nice. Obviously it's difficult to sleep in oil, so perhaps I would say to ladies, pop it on maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, cover your head in oil. The cheapest version of that would be a nice organic coconut oil, and put a layer across the scalp, and then have a nice wash before you go to bed so you're not sleeping in the oil. But the coconut oil is amazing for your scalp.
And I think as well, just to mention, obviously as a breast care nurse, I deal with predominantly women as well, but we know that men get breast cancer as well, and obviously go through the same process of hair loss, which is just as devastating. Is there any advice that you would give to men who've lost their hair?
Yeah, so men need to be a bit more careful, because a lot of men use clippers and shavers and things like that, which are very high risk of infection if you're shaving your head. So we would always suggest that when the hair growth comes back, that you wouldn't sort of have a really close shave, or perhaps not use clippers. Essentially, you would have a scissor over comb cut, which all of your hairdressers and barbers will know what that is. But yeah, so we would stay well away from anything with a blade, just for risk of infection. But they can follow the same advice that a woman does in terms of their scalp and healthy hair growth.
Do you think water makes a big difference as well, and hydration as well, especially after something like chemotherapy?
Absolutely, yeah, it's so vital, and hydration is essential for your hair growth for your hair to be healthy. You need to be hydrated and get some natural vitamin B from sunlight.
That's great. Is there any sort of vitamins, is there any sort of foods that can help that maybe ladies maybe need to concentrate? It's a lot of...
Yeah, so healthy diet's essential for hair growth. If you're not eating and drinking correctly, then your hair growth will be limited. So yes, your general things like oily fish and natural, like avocados, natural fats are really good for the healthy scalp and hair as well.
That's great. That's brilliant. I think that's really useful. If you've got any queries, again, Nicola works for the Wonderful Wig Company. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram. There's a website there with a telephone number if you want some more advice about this, because I know Nicola's very, very passionate about this. So thank you so much for coming today, Nicola. It's been really good. Thank you.
Thank you.